Everyone to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I am joined by a recurring guest now. She is a sophomore on the Northeastern women's hockey team, Taze Thompson. She's having an incredible year so far, so definitely excited to chat with her once again. Taze, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast, and how's everything going?
Hi, Matt. Thanks so much for having me back. Things are going really, really well. I'm excited to catch back up and talk a little bit with you today.
Well, obviously, it's been a year since we last had you on the podcast. So, how have things been for yourself since we last talked? Because it seems like you've sort of become a celebrity since we last had you on with the whole Bean Pot when you won that, and then obviously what you've been doing with Harvard. It's pretty fun to watch you grow as a hockey player, both on and off the ice.
Yeah, no, things have been going really well. There was a lot of moving around in the summer. My family moved to New Jersey. So my dad kind of got picked up by Philadelphia there, and he's loving it there. So I was moving all over the place. I went back home to Alberta for a little bit, trained there. I was training in Michigan. I was bopping around everywhere until I kind of finally got back to Boston with Northeastern, and now I've just been loving it ever since. And so a lot of moving parts, like we talked about, still picked right back up where we left off with all the moving around and the chaos. But things have been going so well. And yeah, the last 6, 7, 8 months have been super fun. So great. So all is well.
Well, I'm going to the Bruins game tomorrow. I didn't know your dad worked for the Flyers. That's pretty cool. Is he like an assistant coach there?
Oh yeah. He's the assistant coach with John Tortorella, and he has nothing but good things to say, and he's really taking in that experience. And he's actually, so he's coming to Boston. I get to see him right after this podcast, actually. They fly in. And so I don't really get to see my dad that much during the year. He's always so busy. So he was in Boston, I think in November, and I was able to see him for a night. And so now he's coming back to play the Bruins. So you'll be at that game. You'll get to see him on the bench, but I'm super
Unfortunately,
excited.
I'll be cheering for the Bruins, but no hard feelings. So
It's okay. No.
No, Travis Konechny is one of my favorite players, so I'm excited to see him play. And then we had also Noah Cates on the podcast a long time ago, and he's now with the Flyers, so I'm looking forward to seeing those two guys play. But Torts seems like a very scary guy, but everyone says he's like super nice. So have you had the chance to meet him at all?
So I haven't had the chance to meet him yet. I've only been in Philly for like a week, and that was over Christmas break. But he does seem pretty intimidating on the media, but my dad has absolutely nothing but incredible things to say about him, like off the ice. Like, he's a very good man. He's got a very good heart. My mom has been out to dinner with his wife. Like, they're just a very good family. So yeah, I think my dad is just loving his experience. He learned so much from him, like just being such a historic coach, been in the league for a lot of years. So nothing but good reviews across the board.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen those 24/7 things they used to do before the Winter Classic when they would follow that team around, but the Rangers were obviously in one, and I just remember like he would always rip apart his team, and it was like I was like 10 years old when I was watching that, and he like scared me so much, so I guess that sort of lingers on today.
Yeah, I think he can be pretty scary. Like, he's pretty tough, but there's a reason he's been a head coach for so long. So everyone has different coaching styles. I think the media, he's pretty tough, but nonetheless, he's a very smart and knowledgeable man about the game, I think. So still good.
No, he has a great personality. I think like a few days ago, he's like, I don't really give a what about what people think about me, and I just thought that was so funny. So he seems like he's definitely funny. Yeah, I like that. I definitely like that.
He's very cutthroat, very honest, but no, I think my dad's taken in every bit of that experience. And I think right now we're kind of looking for a house in Philly, and Philly, like he really loves the area. He loves working with all of his staff, nothing but great things. The guys on the team are great guys. My sister's there, and she gets to skate at their rink every morning. So she's got a good setup, gets to go on the ice with my dad and kind of keep growing her game. So hopefully, I think that's where I'm going to land back this summer, training with my dad, with my sister, at that rink that they have in New Jersey as their practice rink. So it's a good setup.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know when we talked last time, you were saying how you moved around a lot. And I feel like last time we had you on, he was working with the Sharks. So it's definitely nothing has changed on that front.
No, nothing's changed. We just went from West Coast to East Coast.
So I do want to ask you about, obviously you're talking about how chaotic the summer was, but you did transfer to Northeastern. So I do want to ask you what made you want to go to Northeastern versus all the schools you might have looked at when you were in the
Mhm.
portal?
Yeah, Northeastern, I think just immediately jumped out to me. You know, being familiar with Boston, I had a pretty good friend base and family base around here that I've made over the last couple years. And going to prep school on the East Coast, I definitely wanted to stay in the East. And then Northeastern, like the staff immediately, I was gravitated to. They were just unbelievable throughout the whole process, really working with me during kind of a last minute thing. So there was a lot of things to sort out, and they kind of stuck with it, and they were just unbelievable. And then obviously just a testament to their hockey program being right in the mix in the Final Four the last 4 or 5 years, and just building up this program, producing some elite athletes. It was so hard to, like, you can't not want to come to a school of this stature. And then the academics on top of it, they have the co-op programs. They have a bunch of like +1 programs where you can kind of accelerate, get your master's. There's just so much opportunity here. And it was hands down, like, I cannot imagine being anywhere else. It's just been home since the second I stepped on campus. The girls have been unbelievable. It never felt like I was out of place. It never felt like I was a newcomer. Just right from the get-go, it felt like home. And now these are girls that, I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. And this team is just so special. And I think we got a really talented and special group. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do heading towards the end of the year.
Yeah, just talk a little about the transition. What's it been like, obviously hockey-wise, but academically? Harvard's a great school, and Northeastern is as well, but it must be weird going from an Ivy League to, like, I guess, a regular private school. So talk about that transition as well.
Yeah. I think the transition was as seamless actually as it probably could have been. There was no rough patches once I got into the school and I was, fully here taking classes. Northeastern is very interactive, like very hands-on in the learning process. So like a lot of my classes, they're very like service learning based, and they're very like you're kind of put into the world so you can apply the skills that you learn in your classes, which I love and I can't speak highly enough about. For me, like, I'm a double major in human services and psychology. And so like I'm working with people and I'm talking about how I can work with people. And there's just so much dialogue and good conversation, which there wasn't as much as that last year where I was at. And maybe it was just because the classes I was taking last year were very foundational. But now that I think I'm higher as a sophomore, like I can really apply myself. And here they do such a good job of that. And then hockey wise, the transition was so great. Like hopping on the ice, everyone on my team, the expectation is just to give your best every practice. Like they make me so much better every practice. They're fun, they're competitive, they're fast paced. The lifts before and after skates that we do, they're very like purposeful and intentional. And the transition has just been awesome. Like I've been so happy and so fortunate to kind of end up where I am.
Yeah, I think that's like that in most schools because after my freshman year, I felt like the classes I was taking were a little bit better in the sense where, like, freshman year, I had to take a lot of gen ed classes to fulfill requirements to get my degree. Well, now as a sophomore, it's like I can start taking classes geared towards my major, which I feel like are a little more beneficial because I think I'm definitely going to use them more after I graduate.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel the same way.
Now, obviously, your team entering the second half is a top 10 team in the country. How would you evaluate your team's performance as of now?
Yeah, I think we've been really consistent, with the exception of maybe one or two kind of bumps along the way that I think we've grown from. But you know, our record is really pretty exceptional at the moment. Like I think we have 2 losses, which we're bitter about, and like I think the team mentality that we have is kind of that we hate losing more than we like winning, which is why it makes us so successful. Um, but I just think everyone has bought in 100%. And I think that's what makes us so successful is every single person on the team kind of having a role and knowing their role and being able to adapt. And just everyone doing it for the person sitting next to them. And that's just really given us a lot of success. And, then we had a really good first half, then we kind of resetted, got a good rest. And I think we've come out pretty strong, really hot in the second half too. So I think we're excited to keep going.
Yeah, and I feel like your team's been sort of underrated this year, which is a bit surprising to say because I feel like right now you guys are 6th in the rankings and you've only lost 2 games. I don't know, like I'm gonna sort of advocate for you guys. Like you guys made the last two Frozen Fours, and while you dominated Hockey East like you did in those last 2 years as well, and every time you guys play those non-conference opponents, you usually win those games, or at least are very tough games for the opponents. So I guess this sort of leads into my next question, but how do you, I guess, maintain that consistency throughout the regular season?
Yeah, I think just taking each practice, each game, each shift, like one step at a time, has been really helpful for us. For us, we like to put two goals down on the whiteboard, like before going out into every period, and then after every period, we come back and we see like, all right, did we get our goals? Like, what can we do better? So I think it's just breaking it down to the smallest components, not really getting too far ahead of ourselves. And I think that's caused us to have a lot of success and be very, very consistent, is just taking things, one step at a time.
And obviously, you're used to being on a ranked team, but I do want to ask how you sort of handle that pressure of being a ranked team, because especially with Northeastern, your team always has a target on your back for being the best team in Hockey East so far. So just talk about how you handle that pressure and what's it like having that target on your back every single weekend.
I think we actually really pride ourselves on being the team, that a lot of teams want to beat when they come into our arena or we go into theirs. I think that pressure really drives us. Like, that's the standard. Like, our standard is we want to win. And so I think we all do really well with the pressure. I think it really drives us, and I think we're really good at driving each other. Some of the girls that I play alongside with, like Alina Mueller, Chloe Arard, like Murray Murphy, like just some top tier elite athletes, like just from the back out, like Gwyneth Phillips, one of the best goalies, if not the best goalie in the nation right now. Like, I just think every person on our team loves that pressure, and they love, the drive and the fuel that is fueling us to win right now. And then we all feed off of it and feed off of one another.
Maybe this is just me, like from an outside perspective, feeling this way, but it seems like your team is playing with something to prove. Obviously, Northeastern lost in the Frozen Four last year, and yourself, you lost to Duluth in the first round of the tournament last year. Is that true? Am I sort of right that you guys are trying to prove something this year? And what's that been like, I guess, if it is true?
No, absolutely. There's like a sticker outside of our locker room, and it's like 2 Frozen Four appearances, like 6 NCAA, like 17 Beanpot wins,
Hmm.
X amount of Hockey East wins, and like the only thing that we're missing is like that national championship title. And so there definitely is that. That is the end goal. Like, there's a lot of things we have to get through in order to get to that goal. There's Hockey East, there's Beanpot, there's all these little accolades, but ultimately that is what we're striving for, and that's what we want. And this team, even before I came a part of it, was so close all these years. So I hear my teammates and I hear like how bad they want it, and I hear just how bitter they still are about like those like coming so close. And I just think that honestly, there's those setbacks for a reason, and so I think we can use that to really get us to where we want to be, which is that NCAA final game.
Yeah, the last two Frozen Four appearances that Northeastern had, they lost in overtime, so they were like a goal away from winning it all.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly. Like,
it's definitely crazy. Do you think you losing to Duluth? I know this might sound crazy, stupid as well, but do you think you losing to Duluth, along with your Northeastern teammates, is that sort of like kind of a fun connection to have, or not fun, but I guess like, hey, at least I sort of know what it was like being in that tournament
yeah,
as well.
maybe a common bitterness towards Duluth.
Maybe,
they're
maybe.
they're yeah, they're a great team. They have some great talent on that team. So it's always fun to kind of, when you start rearing down to the end of the year, when you start to play those big teams from other conferences that
Yeah.
you don't usually play in a normal season. So yeah, definitely some bitterness and some hostility, but at the same time, like, definitely feeling us. And I think we're getting super excited and even more amped up knowing that it's the second half, and that's really where, those big moments come to shine.
We'll talk about what it's like playing in Hockey East, and is the style of play different than the ECAC from what you experienced last year?
Um, yeah, I think definitely the travel's better. Just
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, travel's definitely a lot better. You're not making those long 8 hour, 9 hour road trips to Clarkson taking the ferry. But no, I think the all of the teams on the East Coast, ECAC and Hockey East, are really competitive. that's why a lot of the girls in Canada, US, North America, outside of North America, want to come and play on the East Coast. I play, I think, a lot more girls that I grew up playing hockey with are in Hockey East. So it's been really fun playing, like Vermont and like Holy Cross and like Merrimack, some other teams where like there's just been girls that I've grown up with that I'm like now seeing again that I didn't see when I was in ECAC. And it's always fun to go out to them after games. And, just like last night we played Maine and I played with Courtney Colarulo at New Hampton. She was one of my really good friends. Like I still keep in touch with her every day. And so there's just like little moments like that that are fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the long trip, I think the longest trip in Hockey East is the main trip. I don't know if you guys have done that yet, but you must have been like laughing at all your teammates for sort of complaining about that drive.
Yeah. It was so, yeah, we've done it. So we went to Maine earlier this year. We had the long trip. Yeah, the two nights there. They had the one night here, so they were only one up and drove back way later than us last night. So they, I think, got the worst end of that stick last season. But yeah, it felt really short in comparison to some of the stuff I was doing last year. So obviously, I didn't really think about that, making the change over, but when I learned that like going to Vermont and Maine was like the furthest we have to go, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like you play BU and BC like 4 times, so that's not even like that's like you can just walk to those campuses
Oh,
from Northeastern.
exactly. Exactly. It's not even 10, 15 minutes. So definitely has its pros.
And you also have one of the best fan bases in all of college hockey, the Doghouse. What's it been like playing in front of those fans every night?
They are awesome. Like I cannot say how much I enjoy playing in front of, the Doghouse and the students that they come out to every single one of our games. If there's away games like at BC, like they bring their students there as well. Like they have our signs for us. They bring the energy. Like they really do change the atmosphere of the whole game. Like, and I truly believe that. And I know that might sound like a very common answer, like a very just standard answer, but like I feed off of that energy. Like I know a lot of my teammates do as well. Like we love the Doghouse. Like at the end of our games, like if we come off a win, like we always wave to them, like we like get hype with them, and like they're so excited for us. And like in a way, like even though they're not like on the team, like they're so crucial to our team. So I can't say enough about how much I've enjoyed playing for them in front of them too.
I know they have a sign for each player. Have they made one for you yet?
Taze for days.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I know they've been trying to find a nickname for you. I feel like if I'll just call you Taser, but I'm assuming that's
Yeah,
sort of basic.
no, that's what that's the common one in the locker room, Taser. Yeah, all the girls. I like it. That's kind of been it growing up my whole life too. So feels pretty normal to me now.
Yeah, I know. I do think it's funny when they're trying to like the funniest one was probably the Tasmanian Devil. I know they did that one. I'm trying to think of the other ones they did. I Taser the Laser or something like that. So I know they're
Yeah,
gonna try to
yeah.
find one at some point.
There's a lot of creativity there, but yeah.
Now, individually, you've improved a lot compared to your freshman year. Talk about what you think the biggest improvement is you've made to your game, and what did you work on in the off season to make those improvements that you've seen on the ice so far this year?
Yeah, I think honestly a lot happened in the weight room in the off season. Um I think just getting bigger, stronger, kind of more agile in the corners. I think right now and actually seeing the ice, making plays. I think freshman to sophomore year and each year, I think when it comes with age and with experience, you get a little bit more confidence. And that's something I'm still trying to work on right now, but has actually, I think, really improved since last year. It's just confidence with the puck and making plays and, doing what my eyes tell me to do and not really panicking with that speed. And, we play a lot of really good opponents. And so you want to make plays under control, but see the play. But that comes along with, having the ability to read and react. And so I think that's really helped, and that's come along in practice because my teammates are pushing me so hard, at the rink and at Matthews every day. And so I'm doing the small area drills, doing 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and knowing you're going against like my defensemen who are top tier defensemen and other lines, like they've really helped me. So I actually think a lot of the improvements came in the weight room, getting stronger, faster, more agile. But then in practice here at Matthews, they've helped me so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you sort of build that confidence? Because obviously that comes with experience, but I feel like also like there's sort of a mindset you have to have. I'm curious, like, is there anything you work on to sort of build up that confidence, or is it sort of something that just comes naturally?
Yeah, actually I think it's a lot of mental processes that go on. And I think you really just have to kind of internally find it. No one, I mean, I'm sure you can get it from outside sources if you really wanted to or needed to, but like right now, like my team prioritizes a lot of like we have this new kind of headset and it's like brain tap and we have like pre-performance, like it's almost like a meditation, but I don't know if like that's the right word to use for it, but there's a whole mental side of the game um, that Northeastern really likes to prioritize. And so like when you're kind of by yourself, there's like a sleep one, there's a pre-performance one, there's a post-performance one, and you kind of just put your headphones on and like in a way like that helps you build confidence when you're kind of reflecting in and you're shutting off the world and you're just dialing in on like your capabilities, like this is what you're capable of, like this is what you've done over the last couple of years that got you to this point. Like think about your teammates, think about the people that have helped you, and you kind of channel that confidence. And I think like I've really worked on my mental game since being here, and Northeastern has provided these resources for me to do so. um, and that's really helped me because confidence is an emotional mental thing, and I think you just have to work on it in order to kind of maintain it.
Yeah, I feel like so many people are now talking about the mental side of hockey just because I think people are starting to realize how important it is. And it's kind of crazy how people like do different things to build up their confidence. Like I know some people sort of do what you do with the headphones, sort of like visualize the game before it happens. And or what I used to do, which maybe isn't the healthiest way, is I used to like pretend people like were against me.
Yeah.
Like they didn't like me and they like didn't think I was that good, so I want to prove them wrong. I know Michael Jordan used to do that, but there's different ways how people do it. I always find that interesting.
No, totally. And I think it's something too that you can always keep building confidence. Like even now, like I want to keep working at it every single day because I know that I help my teammates more and my team when I do feel confident in myself. And there's games and there's practices where every athlete is going to kind of fluctuate with that, but the mental side has really helped my overall just like mental health as an athlete, as like a student, as a person. And that's just a huge testament to Northeastern again for giving us those resources.
Yeah, confidence is such a hard thing to build up, but it's so easy to lose confidence. Like one bad shift
Totally.
could just ruin your entire confidence. So
Totally.
it's definitely something that I feel like you constantly have to work on as an athlete.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, your team got to go to Nashville this year. I sort of want to talk about that trip. How fun was it to go to Nashville? Have you ever been there before? And what did you take away from that experience, both on and off the ice? Because on the ice, you beat two really good opponents in Cornell and Princeton. And off the ice, it seemed like you guys had a lot of fun based on what the social media team was posting. But you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that trip was awesome. That was so fun. We kind of stayed right off of that Broadway street, which is that main strip with all of the live music. And we were 15, 20 minutes away from the rink, so we were still close. It was so fun. Getting to kind of leave Boston and leave the East Coast and play hockey with your team somewhere else is always a good refresh. Like it almost feels like you have a new energy. And we were really successful in those games. That was one of my favorite tournaments, that I've ever done. It was a super cool experience. We got kind of the guitar out of it. Um, it was awesome, and those are two really good teams too in Cornell and Princeton. So they really gave us a good hockey game, and there was a lot of girls, like youth girls, in the stands, and there was a lot of families there. So it actually felt like we had like a ton of fans, which I guess we don't usually have a whole lot. Like it was packed, and so it was so fun. I really had a good time. Definitely something that I'll remember for forever.
Where do you guys keep the guitar? Do you ever play it once in a while?
I think it's somewhere in our locker room. No, I think we're trying to preserve it, keep it nice and shiny.
You can play
Um,
it when you win Hockey East or something like
I
that.
know
Like try
maybe
to save it for that.
we'll bring it back out for a victory song.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And I do want to ask you the experience off the ice. I've never been to Nashville, but I heard it's like one of the best music cities in the world. I don't know if you had the chance to sort of like at least get the vibe of what that was like.
Yeah, we got to walk around for a little bit after our games. It was so lively. It was a really cool atmosphere. The weather was still good, like it wasn't freezing, and it was right before winter, or sorry, right before Christmas, so like it was November. But weather was good. People, the atmosphere was really, really cool. All the live music. It was really clean. Like it was just a really good city. I'd never been there before, but I know the draft is there this upcoming year, and so I think my family, we're actually going to go to the draft, and they've never been to Nashville, so I'm excited to go back, and I'll act like I'm a vet.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll show them the fun spots.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, no, that should be a good draft too. Obviously with Bedard and all those guys.
Oh yeah, it'll be really fun. I'm super excited to see what happens.
Now, one thing that has happened since last time we talked was you won the Bean Pot. I want to ask you it because I might be biased, but I thought you were the best player in that tournament last year. What was it like winning that championship, and talk about what it's going to be like to do it, or sort of have that experience once again with Northeastern?
Yeah, no, that was super exciting last year. I think that's one of the best memories in hockey was that tournament. Obviously Northeastern, BU, BC last year were all really tough opponents for us. And so winning that was something super exciting, and I think Beanpot, like playing in it for the first time, it's that do or die energy because it's one game and you move on one game and you're kind of out. And so bringing that energy over here, like I know we're all so excited. I want to win it again. Like I want it back at Northeastern. I know they're bitter from last year, and so we're already talking about Beanpot and getting ready. And a lot of girls on this team have won it in years past as well, like a lot of our older girls, and so we definitely want it back in Matthews, and it's going to be really fun. Playing BU is our first game, and so we're hoping to make it to the end and get Beanpot back in Matthews.
Yeah, I have that. Where's it going to be played this year? I think BC, right? Or is it
It's
BU?
it's at BC, and we play BU first.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Do you like having the
Yeah,
early game? Because I like that because I feel like it's good to just get it out of the way. I know what people like the late game because it's the prime time and big lights and all that stuff, but
yeah,
I'm an early person, so I like the early game a little bit more sometimes.
yeah. I don't mind. I don't mind either. I like early game too. Night is good because you have that routine. Like you play a lot of games
Mhm.
later. So yeah, I think either is good. I just think with that, when it's being pot, like that energy is kind of manifested for a really long time. It builds up. Like I think it starts now too. Once it hits the new year and it's kind of getting closer to February, we're all kind of thinking about it now. Like we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but it's always a really fun tournament. So I think we're all excited.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for the second half of the year? Obviously, it's to win a national championship, win Hockey East, and obviously the Bean Pot. But are there any other goals that are on your team's radar that some fans might not be aware of?
No, I think you nailed it all. I think definitely being pot, and we want to stay firm where we are in the Hockey East standings. Obviously, climb the national standings as much as we can, um, and then definitely win Hockey East. And then I think hitting all of these steps and taking things one step at a time, like I said earlier, is what's going to put us in a really good spot for that national championship at the end of the year. But making it to the NCAA tournament is, the goal. That it's great to win these things. Like it's great to win Bean Pot. It's great to win Hockey East, but that national championship is what we want. And so I think just maintaining that consistency and that composure and really playing for one another like we've been doing. So.
Now, Hockey East has a single elimination playoffs compared to the ECAC, which is like a series for the first round before the semifinal. I'm curious from your perspective, since you played or going to play in both, since all teams from Hockey East make the playoffs, is your mindset different heading into a single elimination playoff versus a series playoff? Because I feel like in a series playoff, it feels like you can sort of have some leeway to make mistakes, but in a single elimination, you sort of have to put it all out there. I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think like even like bean pot, it's almost that same do or die energy. So I think definitely you even though people may say like you want to approach every single game like it's do or die. Like that's the mentality. But when it actually is do or die, I think you like just subconsciously will play like as mistake free as hard as you absolutely can. Like you have nothing to lose, everything to gain kind of mentality. And so definitely I think the stakes are a lot higher is what I think the way I'm trying to phrase it is when the stakes are higher, you play, even though you might not realize it, but you do play so much differently because yeah, like last year, like if you know, lose the first game, you have one more to tie it back up kind of thing. But when the stakes are high, I like it. I think having that you need to win to move on makes you shape up. It makes the games fast. It makes them physical. It makes them exciting. So definitely, I think your mentality is just bound to change when the stakes are that high.
Yeah, I've always hated though the saying like must win game because I always feel like every game's a must win game. Like the
Yeah.
games in October are the same, mean the same as the games in February. So I don't know. Maybe I feel maybe that just maybe that's the way I always played a game like it was do or die. So
No, totally. And you know, Coach Flint, he's such a good coach, and he emphasizes that every practice is how important every single game is, especially now in the second half. Like every game matters so much, even though like these may not be do or die. Like you still want to play like it's do or die every single game.
yeah, and then you have that mentality once it is do or die. Like you sort of have that, I guess, experience and mindset of what it's like to be in that situation.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And you just mentioned Coach Dave Flynn. I have to ask, what's it like playing under him? He seems like a quiet guy, but the guy is like a genius at hockey, from what I've been told. So, what's it been like playing under him this year?
No, he's awesome. He really is like such a smart man. Like when it comes to hockey, he was a goalie, so he sees the ice. Like you know, being a goalie, you see everything, and I think that's what makes him such a good coach. And he's just been great. Like his ability to communicate with players, his ability to kind of stop practice and you know really break down the game into its smallest components. He's helped me a lot. All the coaching staff has really helped me a lot, but definitely there's a reason why he's turned this program into a program that was like a 500 team to a team that it is now.
Now, hold on a second. Sorry. Right.
Okay.
So, what's been your favorite road rink to play in Hockey East this year? I do want to ask you that because I know there's a lot of cool ones in the ECAC, but I'm curious which been your favorite one so far in Hockey East.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I can't. This might give me some heat and criticism because they're a Boston rival, but I really liked playing at Boston College's rink. I thought they
That's a
had a
nice rink, though.
they have a really nice drink. I'll give it to them. I don't want to get put on blast, but they had a really good rink. It was really fun to go over there um, and play on that sheet for sure. We haven't been to Vermont yet, but I played at tournaments growing up. Like in Naha, I was in Burlington every year. So I'm excited to go back to the gut and play Vermont. I have a lot of friends on that team. We haven't played in the rink yet, but I think once we do, I'll really enjoy it because it's kind of got that like barn woodeny feel.
I heard they renovated it though, so I don't know like how. I guess it still has that vibe, but maybe it's a little bit new school in a way.
Maybe, maybe. I hope it's still got that. Like it kind of had that arc in the wood, and I thought it was
I
really
think they
cool.
still have the wood there. I know they renovated it, so it's nicer. So maybe it's even better than it already
Yeah,
was. Who
maybe it's even
knows?
better. But we go down to them actually next weekend, so I'm excited to play in their rink for sure.
That's obviously a big game too, because I think they're second or third in the standings as of right now. So
Yeah, huge game. And, you know, it's always a battle playing against Vermont. Those have been our closest games probably in hockey. So we're definitely excited for that as well.
I do want to ask you, why did you wear number 44? I know Abby Marone had your old number 19, but I'm curious if what was the I think it's sort of a weird number, so I was just curious why you
Yeah.
chose to wear that.
Yeah. So I think coming over, like it's kind of actually a really funny story, but I've always liked I thought double numbers look cool. And really that was kind of like a double number that was available. You know, everything was kind of taken up. At first I was thinking about like 22, but you know, that kind of wasn't, I don't think, a good fit. And then so 44, I was like, yeah, that's great. And then like not even like a week after I picked 44, like a Bible verse that I was reading came up, and it was Psalm 44, and it was like a reminder of past victories and a verse about like looking into the future. And I thought that was like so poetic that it was like 44, and it was kind of like, you know, you're like
Mhm.
thankful for the past and like a reminder of like the past victories and everything that you've done, and like now it's like a new chapter. And I was like sent it to my mom, and I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is a sign, like this is gonna be great. And so now it's like honestly become like really sentimental to me. And I have I'm looking at the Bible verse in my computer back screen right now, past this phone chat, and I see it every day, and I really like it. It's really endearing to me.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. Now, since we already did a non-hockey segment with you last time, I tried to find just like random questions on the internet that I thought were interesting, so hopefully you do as well. First one is, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Ooh, I'm currently reading The Mountain Is You, and I've been seeing it like all over like Amazon and the internet. And I really liked it so far. I'm not too deep into it yet, but like how we were talking about the mental processes, it's all about like self-sabotaging in a way. And like the mountain is you, meaning like the only barrier you have to overcome is yourself. And so that's really been a good read so far. I'm only like a couple chapters in, but I'm excited to keep going on that one.
Yeah, I guess the most interesting thing that I read was there's this book called Manhunt, and it's about them trying to find John Wilkes Booth after he assassinated Lincoln. And it's actually a very
That's
interesting
cool.
story because I didn't know too
Yeah.
much about it, but basically like what he was doing after he assassinated Lincoln before he got killed himself. And I'm not the biggest history nut, but I did find that really interesting to read.
Was that a true story? Like, is this
Yes,
all
it's a
based
true
on
story. I'm
like that?
surprised
So
they
the
haven't
man.
made a movie about it.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I might have to check that one out because I like stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's a long read, but it's definitely like very interesting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I guess the most interesting thing that I saw was there was a story about this hockey player named Jason Robertson who plays for the Dallas Stars. And it was kind of cool to hear like his story because he was born in California, he moved to Michigan, and obviously now he's killing it with the Stars, and he's become one of my favorite players to watch. And maybe because I'm American, I gravitate to those American players a lot. So I really like him a lot. And that was a really interesting story by Emily Kaplan of ESPN.
Oh, nice. No, I love those stories too. I'm gonna have to check all these out. These are great recommendations.
Thank you, thank you. I don't know if you're a big Dallas Stars fan, but he's definitely a fun player to watch. So,
Yeah. No kidding.
now, what is your favorite thing about Boston?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say the people. The people I've met here are really exceptional people. Like at Northeastern, like it's really my family. Like I even going home for break, like I was so excited to get back to school to see my team. So the people, and I just think also the atmosphere, like the college atmosphere. There's so many schools just in the Boston area, and it's obviously a really popular place for higher education. So being, a college student, being a college athlete, and you're surrounded by so many people similar to yourself, it really brings a good energy to the city. And right now being at Northeastern, I'm so close to like Newberry Street. I'm close to TD Garden. Like I'm close to all of these places. And so definitely trying to branch out more and see more of the city. Like I'm in Back Bay, like that's where my dad's staying. So when my dad flies here, he stays like 5 minutes away from my rink. So I get to walk and see him. So I just think how like nice it is being integrated into the city. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the people here are like honest too in a good way. Like I feel like maybe like in the West Coast people might be like might not like I feel like people in the East Coast will always tell it out how it is, and I feel like I prefer that more. Like it might be like
Yeah.
people might not like get it, but like once you like if you live in it, you understand like that's like good to hear sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Sometimes too honest. Sometimes like drivers scare me in Boston.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever driven a vehicle in Boston. I don't know if I ever will.
Yeah, no. I had to learn how to drive in Mass, so I feel like I'm definitely prepared for all that stuff.
You're prepared for anything then.
I lived somewhere where Massachusetts driver's license is the hardest license to get out of all the 50 states.
Oh goodness. Yeah, not for me. I'm not driving here.
And walking's fine. That
Walking,
doesn't
that's why it's
it's
such a
good
great
it's good
city.
exercise. So
Such a great city. You can walk anywhere. I
yeah,
prefer it.
I think my favorite thing about Boston is probably just the sports. I know I might be biased, but it's just such a different sports culture compared to other cities I've been to, and I just like how people are so passionate about it. It's why I'm like super passionate about it myself. So that's probably like my favorite thing about the city.
Yeah, the sports fans here are great. They're so passionate about their teams.
Now, what is the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
Oh. It's a really good question. Probably a really boring person if I can't think of it right on the spot.
I'm boring. Mine's just going to a hockey game like last minute. That's usually my most spontaneous
Yeah, that's
things I ever do.
probably mine is going, hanging out with friends, like going to a game, like um not really like I like taking up new challenges. So over break, like my mom got me a Rubik's Cube and I was so like I learned to solve it and like like I sat down and I watched a YouTube video and I was like, I wouldn't even talk to my family over break. They were getting mad at me. They're like, Taze, put the Rubik's Cube down. So like probably like just like that's not spontaneous, but like if I like want a task, like I'll do a task and like I have to do it. So
Mhm.
now like now it's just something fun that I taught myself the algorithms and I'll just fidget with it all day. But I mean it's little things like that. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really a spontaneous person myself. It's just more because I really need to prepare for everything because I'm super
Yeah, I'm the
OCD.
same way. I like
So,
I like organization. I'm very scheduled, but when my friends like make a last minute plan and they drag me out, I always know like I love it and I love them
mhm.
for it. So probably just doing something with friends.
Yeah, I definitely at the end of the day I like it, but when it's happening, I get very like antsy about it because I'm like, no, like it should be at this particular time at that moment.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole thing that like it's something I'm trying to learn to like manage, I guess.
Yeah, I'm similar.
Now, what's the hardest class you've ever taken?
Ooh. There was a like a biology, like chemistry. It was kind of biochem physics, and it was my freshman year at Harvard. That was pretty tough.
Oh, I can just imagine a Harvard physics class oh
It
my
was like
gosh.
it was like LPSA, so it was like life and physical sciences, but it was like all of the sciences in one class. So it was like a lot of bio, a lot of chem, a little bit of physics, not too much, but mainly biochem heavy. Um, I like that stuff. So actually it was challenging, but I enjoy the material. Like I'm a very science driven, science wired person. So like it was a more enjoyable class than like learning about like for me like business or history or economics. Like I'm not wired that way. So like
Mhm.
it was
Yeah, I'm
tough.
the complete opposite. Like when something's that hard and so frustrating, it makes me like I feel like it's detrimental to my learning because I'm just so frustrated. Like
Oh,
the most
yeah.
hardest class I've ever taken was quantitative reasoning, which is like a math class. And I
Oh,
remember like I worked so hard to get a B minus in that class. Like it was the hardest. I worked less hard to get A's in other classes, and this one I worked so hard and I got like a B minus. So that was
oh
I'm not a
yeah.
math guy at all.
Numbers will do that to you. Numbers 100% will do that to you.
That's why I have so much respect for people that like are interested in math and science because like I couldn't do that. So thank you for doing that because that's how the world runs and I don't want to do that. So
Of
I actually
course.
am very grateful for people like you who like that stuff.
I'm grateful for people who like business and economics and other stuff because I don't personally understand how that works. So
Mhm.
vice versa.
Now, let's talk about some of your teammates. I think you have the best style in all of women's college hockey. Like I saw the Nashville fit, that was awesome. And then I think you took a scooter one time to a game. So I'm not trying to be like saying that you're on the podcast. I really mean it. But who's number two on the Northeastern women's hockey team for pregame outfits?
We have some really good outfits, but I'm gonna give a shout out to Lily Brazis. She anything she wears, she rocks and she looks good in. And she pink is her color. She has some neon pink outfits that she'll pull up in, and she looks good every time. So Lily Brazis, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Did you guys plan out those Nashville stuff at all, or was it sort of like I feel like you have to coordinate a little bit. Like I
Yeah,
that was might be like that could be the best team outfit thing I've seen all year.
yeah, the Nashville stuff was fun. We did like Canadian tuxedos, so like denim on denim. And then I think the other time it was just cowboy attire, like cowboy hat, flannel, maybe flared jeans, boots. Like, so the cowboy hat was a big staple. That thing never left my head in Nashville. I think for a lot of people, we all walked around with the cowboy hat on.
Who's the best? Which teammate has the best social media account in your opinion?
Ooh, probably Murph's dogs, Bean and Brew.
I've
Her
not heard of that.
her wiener dogs. Go
That's
check them
awesome.
out. Murph's dogs are probably the most active on Instagram. There's actually no dogs allowed in Matthews, and the doghouse made a sign saying "Free Bean and Brew," and it's my favorite sign ever. So definitely Bean and Brew.
I feel like for Maureen Murphy, they should make that an exception, but maybe that's just me.
I know that's what we like. They told us that like at the beginning of the year, like coach was like, guys, like I have a really devastating announcement, and we were all like, kind of on edge, and he's like, "There's no dogs like left in Math," and like that was probably the saddest we've been all year because they're awesome. Like even like at team meals, Bean and Brew are always there. Gwen's dog Paris is there. We're a very dog family.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of poetic considering we're the Huskies, but
Oh, for sure, for sure. No husky though. That makes no sense.
I know no Huskies. We got some wiener dogs. I think Paris is like a French bulldog. So yeah, a lot of dogs running around campus for sure.
Now, which teammate has the best chirps in your opinion? I don't know how much trash talking goes on in women's hockey, but I'm assuming there's got to be a few. So who has the best chirps?
Oh, I don't really know. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know if I feel like we don't really like chirp the other team. Like there's a lot of girls in the locker room that are super funny, will like make super funny little comments. Like not really chirps, but like just
No, I
hilarious.
understand, like roasting you a little bit.
Yeah,
A
like
little bit fun.
hilarious to be around. Like Peyton Anderson is so funny. Like I could be with Peyton Anderson 24/7 and she will make me laugh continuously. Lily Jovicic, I know you've had her on the pod before. I'm really good friends with Lil. Like she has some funny comments actually. And if there's one person who's a little scrappy, maybe Lily. Like she's so hard to play against. Like I think this is actually, yeah, like she's so underrated for what she does. Like she's awesome.
Hmm. Oh, I agree. I think she's the most underrated player in your team because one of the
Totally.
big question marks I was interested about Northeastern was they lost a lot of key defenders with Skylar Fontaine and others leaving. And I was interested to see like who was going to step up in that second line D pair. And I feel like her and Abby Marone have done a good job like stepping up and filling in those roles.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
feel like she doesn't get enough credit for that. So if she's listening to this, shout out Lily.
Shout
Always a
out
big fan.
Lily. Shout out Lily. We love you. No, she has been unbelievable. Like right now, she's even our first pairing right now with Meg Carter, who's on the Canadian national team, and like Lily has earned that 100%. Like she works so hard in practice. She might not be like, like a Skylar Fontaine who scores like a lot of goals, like
Yeah.
super offensive, but Lily will make the right play, the best play, like the hustle play every time. And she I think is so underrated. She's so quick, like she's so agile, like she protects the puck well. Like she does a lot of the really little things right. And I think that's such a reason like we have so much success is for key players like her that may not get like the offensive recognition, but like on our team, like, oh my gosh, like she is
Mhm.
just a huge part of our team.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Lauren McInnes, who was on Northeastern last year. Lauren I felt like got so much better from her freshman year to her senior year and became one of their key defenders. And I feel like Lily's the same way. But I think my favorite part about Lily is she's arguably one of the nicest people I've ever met in college hockey. Like just such a great person and
I
super humble.
love Lily.
So
Yeah,
that's why like I always like try to advocate for people like her because I think it says a lot about someone when you're so nice to people off the ice as well, which is your
totally.
entire team, by the way. I've always had good
Totally. No,
interactions.
and the girls on my team like are just incredible. Like I could sit here and talk about every single girl on my team for hours and about how like good of a person they are. Lily when I first got here was like I immediately like made me feel like I had known her for years. Like we've always kind of played against each other and like I think seen each other in passing, but so when we got together, like we were really excited to finally be in the same place. And she's been one of my like she's such a good friend of mine. Like she always again, I could sit here and talk about everyone for so long, but
Yeah.
she's a great player, great person.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm like a big fan of your team because you're just such great people. Like, little story time, but I had Alina Mueller on the podcast like 2 years ago, right after they lost the national championship game, and then last year I went to the regional game in Worcester when Northeastern played Western Michigan, just because I wanted to go there. And I was walking through the parking lot after I paid, and Alina Mueller saw me. He's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" Like she remembered who I was and my name, like
Aw,
even after a year when she
leaders.
didn't have to do that. So that's like
Yeah,
that stuff like stands out to me. So I just
totally.
wanted to share that story.
Totally. That's a great story. Lena's, again, such a good person, great captain. I sit next to her in the locker room and like I've learned so much from her.
Well, I think it's crazy because she's probably one of the most famous people in women's hockey. Like, she probably meets so many people every day, but to remember like some random kid that interviewed her like 2 years ago before that was just, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So
Lena's is great for sure.
now I guess this leads into, I guess we'll ask that after this one, but what are your thoughts on the podcast since we last had you on? I'm just curious about that.
Oh, I love your stuff, Matt. Like really what you do is really like you go out of your way to make these interviews. You put a lot of time and effort into them. And I know like all the male and female athletes in college hockey, like we appreciate what you do so much. And I love your social media. I love seeing like the updates. Honestly, you're a great news source for me. Like I don't really go. I think I've kind of dumbed down the social media a little bit this year. But when I do check it, like feel like you're a good news source for me. So we really do appreciate everything you're doing and we love coming on for sure. So podcast is still 11 out of 10 for me. Would recommend to anyone being on it and also listening to the snippets. It's great.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I try to put news out, but not like spam people. That's sort of the big thing because I
Which
feel
is
like
great.
there's some accounts, I'm not gonna name any names, that like post 20 times a day, and I just can't stand it. So I try my best to sort of do my best to only post like 5 or 6 things a week
I
and
think
make
your
sure people get
ratio
everything they need. So
your ratio is perfect.
exactly. Well, speaking of, I guess, your team, but any guests that we should have on in the future, either if we had them on in the past or we haven't, feel free to give us any recommendations.
Anyone. And if you go through the Northeastern women's hockey roster and you just saw any name, like I can't think of a name off the top of my head, but everyone is so social and just so kind, has a great story, like a great upbringing, brought us all to the same place with the same program with, I think, a common goal of just wanting, that success factor. And so literally anyone on my team, unbelievable people, great people to have a conversation with.
Well, I'll definitely have to. I try to give other teams a chance, so we'll definitely reach out to as many as
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can.
Maybe
So
in a couple weeks, couple months, you can come back to Northeastern. But
for sure, for sure. Well, um, I guess we normally do shout outs at the end of any pod, but since you're already on, I guess if there's any shout outs you might have forgotten last time, feel free to do that. But if there's anything you want to say or plug in, the floor is all yours.
no, I think again, just thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed catching up with you. I really enjoyed our talk last time. Just shout out you, to be honest. Shout out everything that you're doing for college hockey. I think you really put a lot of time and effort, like I mentioned earlier, and we really appreciate it. Everything that you do, and yeah. So shout out you. Shout out just college hockey in general.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess we should try to make this a yearly thing. After during January, try to have you on every year to sort of catch up.
Yeah, hopefully I can we can keep having some more exciting talks. We can keep reflecting over the year and it's all good stuff. So I'd love that.
Even after you graduate, like we still should try to, even if you're not playing anymore, we still got to keep having you on every year just because I
I'd
think it'll be
love
a fun
it.
tradition.
I'd love it. I'm so down for it.
Well, thank you so much, Taze, though, seriously, for coming on the pod. I really appreciate your time. It means so much to myself. I admire you a lot as a player. I think you're such a great hockey player. But like I said, I think you're an incredible person off the ice. And like I said before, that really stands out to me. And you're one of the nicest people I've ever met in college hockey. So I just want to let you know that. And take care, stay safe, and I wish you nothing but success on the ice, but also off the ice in any future endeavors you might have. And like I said, this coming on really means so much to me. So thank you for everything that you've done for myself and the podcast. It really means so much. So thanks.
No, thank you so much, Matt. I had such a great time again. And I can't wait for our annual appearance.
For sure, for sure. January 2024. Can't wait for to schedule that
Can't
already.
wait.
Now, one question I do want to ask you before I end this